Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Lacouture. Right now, I am with one of my favorite persons in the whole world, my elder, my teacher, my friend, my brother, one of my favorite fighters and martial artists all come together, Ethan Minor, Sayaji Ethan Minor. And hello, Ethan. How are you?
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm so happy to see you. A long time since the last time we chat, and I
Yeah,
have plenty of questions.
nice. Well, it's great to see you too. Yeah, it's been far too long since we've been able to get together, so I'm stoked to have this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Well, some people that have seen my channel may have seen you in the Bando system or heard about you because of Bando. However, you are now doing Sistema, the Russian martial arts. So I would like to know, why did you do the transition and why Sistema? You know, like everything about it.
Yeah. Gosh. Well, I mean, like it's like all of our stories, you know. We grow and we change. We learn more. Our perspective shifts, and we try to adapt as best we can to like the environment that we're in and to the battles that we're facing. And I didn't ever really choose Bando. Bando kind of chose me in the sense that I was born into a family that had been training in Bando, you know, all of my dad's adult life. And then, of course, Dr. G, who, you know, informally adopted my father. So he's kind of my grandfather in some ways. And when I came into this world, Bando was what was handed to me. And it was an amazing gift. It's the foundation of my whole existence, and I will always honor and appreciate that. You know, all the people involved and all the experiences I had with camps and tournaments and the competition and the brotherhood and the family that Bando was, you know, it's where I came from. And I stuck with it for over 30 years. I started training when I was about 3 years old. I took a short little break until I was about 10 and started back again when I was about 11, you know, or 10, 11. And I never stopped after that. And I, you know, found a wife, had a kid, lots of life-changing experiences all over the world. You know, Burning Man is something that I have to mention because a lot of my growth and inspiration for growth came out of that place. My time that I spent in Los Angeles, the time that I spent, you know, here in Northern California, all these experiences, they change a person, and as that person grows. And like I said, I'm super grateful for the foundation that Bando gave me. But around the age of 30, I started to really, out of anything, seek for more knowledge that I didn't have yet, and I didn't have access to. Most of the Bando practitioners are on the East Coast and in the Midwestern part of the U.S. So I didn't have a lot of training brothers out here. I didn't have a lot of family that were in Bando. I was teaching Bando here and have a great, you know, student base of Bando practitioners in this area. And but had kind of stalled out a little, had hit a bit of a plateau, like in my whole level of training. I was teaching the same stuff and going over the same drills, and you know, there's always more to like delve deeper into. But for myself and my own development, I needed to find something more. At that time, I was teaching out of a school called the Shugyo Center, which was in Sebastopol, California. Great little spot. And it was a martial arts co-op. So we had a Bando teacher, myself, I believe a Aikido teacher, a Capoeira teacher, and one other martial art was represented there. And Chinese Kung Fu, fantastic Kung Fu teacher there. So we kind of had this co-op that was teaching all these different styles. And one of the things about Shugyo was to invite teachers from other systems. So we, through my buddy Luke Heffley, the Capoeira instructor, he invited Martin Wheeler to come to Shugyo Center to teach a seminar. And Martin Wheeler is a Sistema practitioner. He has a background in Kempo karate, I think, a long time ago. But then he, you know, kind of hit a plateau in his Kempo training, found Systema and got turned on. It's a very similar kind of path that we follow in that sense. And I'll tell you, man, Martin Wheeler hit me with a punch that I barely saw, and it's just one of those moments that changed everything, because all of a sudden I got this little glimpse of how much I didn't know yet. This little glimpse of how much that there was out there for me still to learn and to explore. And this guy that just hit me in a way that I've never experienced before. You know, I've had people from all over with all kinds of intentions hit me in all kinds of fashions, you know, and it's all kind of a similar experience. There was something that happened when Martin hit me that just shifted my whole perspective on reality. And it left me seeking something that I didn't know about. And the closest thing that I had to help me find that thing was the guy that just punched me. So I started training under Martin. And, you know, after spending just a little bit of time working with him, I began to see that there's this whole like other dimension of martial arts that I hadn't had the chance to really be exposed to yet. And Systema became that gateway. And Systema's different than than any other system really that I could even begin to think of, because it's not based in form, and it's not based in some like ancient tradition of a specific way to do things. You know, the katas that are passed down in different arts, they're like a certain way, and you learn how to do them that way, you perfect that, and that's sort of how you make your advancement in the system, among other things, obviously, but just for that example. But with Systema, it's really a journey very specifically to learn yourself more, to explore the depths of your tension, your emotion, your fears. And then once you get to explore and to know those parts of yourself a little more, it gives you tools to learn how to manage and mold those parts of you. And that all gets expressed then in a martial art. So it's really kind of a self-discovery system that is in the guise of a martial art, or like the form of a martial art. But really it's a journey inward. There are principles that are kind of held in one's mind and one's consciousness, no matter what you're doing in Systema. The principles of breathing and movement, the principle of structure, and the principles of balance, right? So these things all work together in order to really adapt to whatever the situation is, whether you're talking with someone or fighting one person, or in a huge mob needing to survive, or in a car accident, or, you know, any number of situations like that the universe can possibly throw at you, because it's not an external system, it's an internal system. So it teaches you how to figure out how to adapt to the reality that you're in, instead of trying to take the framework that you've been given and force that on the reality that you're in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, actually, I don't know if I told you, but I heard about Systema long before I found out that you start doing Systema. As a matter of fact, there was a guy called Manuel Palacios, which was one of my students. You met him. He went to the States a long time ago, and he became a Systema instructor. But I'm pretty sure that you have heard, because it's something very popular now, that Systema guys, because of all the videos that you can find in the internet, like the Ryabko, mostly Mikhail Ryabko videos, where he is punching everybody with no touching them, you know, like that kind of thing, the chi and the energy. Yeah. And because of that, a lot of people believe that Systema is just hocus pocus. However, when I found out that one of the greatest fighters that I know is seriously doing Systema, I was like, hey man, maybe the Systema that I have practiced with, like in those seminars and all, is not really what it is about, you know?
Well, you know, man, I can't speak to anybody else's experience in it. All I can do is share what my own experience has been. And, you know, I know exactly what you're talking about online. It's really easy to find these videos. Um, and and when you stand and you kind of look on these videos from an outside perspective, it looks ridiculous. I'll be the first one to agree with that. A lot of them. There's some other stuff that's actually really good. But I know the ones that you're talking about. And the only way that I can really, I mean, I wouldn't even try to defend any of that at all, because there's so much more going on in any given situation that's being videotaped than what that camera is picking up. That if you just are sitting outside and observing what's happening, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't look real. It doesn't look applicable. It's just like, what is this? But there is a piece that is going on energetically. There's a piece that's going on in an invisible way, that things that you can't see, that are, I promise you, as real as it gets. And really the only way to experience that or the only way to understand that is to experience it. And that was, you know, I didn't get turned on to Sistema through the internet. Like, I had never even heard of it. I had no background of it, no prejudices, no like prejudgments made. Like, I had no idea what it was. And here comes this guy, Martin Wheeler, hits me, changes the way that I see everything permanently. And I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. and so that was why I chose to go ahead and delve deeper. And I can say happily that I've not been disappointed. You know, one of the most outstanding things about the Sistema community are the people that it attracts and that stick with it. The people.
That's the other thing that I really wanted to talk to you, because some people here in Mexico believe that Sistema guys are kind of like a, I don't know if in English it's called sect, you know, like religious.
Like a cult?
Like a cult, yeah, exactly. Because I don't know if you have heard about it, but in one hand, they talk a lot about Christianity. I don't know if in the States they do, but they have something to do with that religion. And also, in the other hand, because of all that energy stuff and all that kind of philosophy, they believe, well, some people believe that Sistema guys are like indoctrinated. It is that.
So, I mean, like, again, I can only speak to my own experience. So the teacher that I have trained under, Martin Wheeler, he's not one of the teachers who emphasizes the sort of more spiritual aspects of Sistema. You know, Sistema comes from Russia. It has a very old history within the Russian Orthodox Church. You know, depending on who you ask and the story that you get, Sistema was actually passed down in monasteries by soldiers that had, you know, given up war, turned their life to God, and then were in these monasteries, but still had all these skill sets. And so they were like working together and developing this, you know, this post-combat psychology within a Russian Orthodox sort of framework. And so so they grew together. They came into being as one thing. Now, I think the level that you choose to adopt that belief system is up to you, as every choice that you make is. The teacher that I work with, like I said, Martin Wheeler, that is not an aspect that he emphasizes a whole lot. And I've been to the Sistema headquarters and trained with Vladimir Vasiliev a few times, and all of their, you know, the local instructors in that area. Emmanuel is another one who's up there in Toronto. Fantastic, amazing human beings, fantastic instructors. I think that for them, the religion is a intrinsic piece of the martial art. I don't know that that has to be the case for everybody.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. Well, as I told you, you are like one of the reasons that I really choose to get more information about the Sistema style, because most of the people that I know here in Mexico, they do martial art, they do Sistema, but when they challenged me, I was like, really? What are you trying to do? You're just, I don't know. I don't want to be rude or anything.
Like, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. and some of them truly couldn't fight. So well, there is something that when I met Vladimir Vasiliev a long time ago, he did change some of the views I had because he's a very good person and a very good martial artist. And also I had Dennis. You met Dennis, a very
remember Dennis?
high
Yep.
operation officer.
Solid. I remember him for sure.
Yeah, well, he was all there in the same seminar. So when I found a lot of these kind of people in the same room together, respecting each other, I was like,
yeah,
this shouldn't be just funny stuff. There must be something beside
to it.
And
Yeah.
when I found out that you were doing that as well, I was like, wow. Is there some other system that I don't know about, or
it's that same experience that I had, you know? I'm looking, like I had this experience and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here that I don't know about?
Yeah.
Like what's happening that I was previously unaware of in my entire life of martial arts? And it was that curiosity that made me go deeper. And I can tell you, man, on just a personal level, I mean, okay, so this is some of my own philosophy here. I want to say this is not condoned by the Sistema organization or the Bando organization. These are purely my views. I hope I don't offend anybody with this, but the bottom line for me is this: is that systems of belief are generally aspected, and when I say aspected, I mean they have an underlying theme that governs their direction. Okay. For instance, Bando, which I spent a significant portion of my life involved with very deeply, is aspected from where it comes from. It has to do with war, and it has to do with battle, and it has to do with, you know, destruction. If you look at some of the kukri form, you know, whose name are they saying when they drop down on one knee? They're saying Kali, right? And so this is a destruction aspected system. And, you know, I know that Dr. G, much later in his life, began to see the negative effects that has on the human body and the human psyche. And that was when he started to introduce more of the yoga, the Letha yoga, the Longi yoga, the Minzin healing arts, the whole monk system, right? That all came way later in Bando's development in the United States, as sort of a counterbalance to the destructive aspects of Bando. And if you look at, you know, the majority of the older practitioners that have been in that system, their bodies have paid the price of that destruction. You know, their joints, their backs, their legs, their knees, their hips, in a lot of cases, their personal relationships, in a lot of cases, their relationships with themselves. You know, there's challenges that are faced with the destruction aspect of art. Do I believe that can be balanced out? Absolutely. But I'll tell you, it came in really hard with that aspect as being the forefront of Bando. And I saw that. I witnessed that as somebody growing up in that system. And I carried that with me through a lot of my young adulthood. And anything that I was confronted with was seen as an obstacle to be destroyed. That's just how I was programmed. And Bando programmed me that way. And is that an effective system? Absolutely. That shit works. No question about it. Is that a system that I want to apply to every aspect of my life? Maybe not. Because what if that obstacle is a loved one? Or what if that obstacle is your child? Or what if that obstacle is something that shouldn't be destroyed for some reason? There needs to be another, you know? And again, this is all my own philosophy here. What I understand about Sistema is that it made that journey through destruction a long time ago. And when it came into the monasteries, that's where that other side of like life and existence and health and well-being began to like be more the foundation, because they had come through the destruction, they had come through the darkness and realized the same thing that every warrior realizes about destruction, and that it's not the way to go, you know. But you can't really know that until you've already been through it. It's a great thing to like think about, but when it comes down to it, you can't really get to the life and flourishing aspected part without going through the destructive part first, right? And so I understand that Sistema began to take on a different aspect in its time developing in the monasteries. And that aspect is life. It's a life-oriented system. First and foremost, your own life, your ability to breathe, your ability to heal yourself, your ability to heal other people, even to the point of where your ability to heal others is a matter of you walking into the room. Because it's all well and good if you can walk in the room and all of a sudden everybody's scared of you, right? But that immediately starts throwing up barriers and walls and creates opposition. If you can walk into the room and everybody feels comforted by your presence, you see, you're already starting to win battles on an entirely different level. And I feel like Sistema, at least in my experience, helps one begin to learn how to access that inside themselves, still training the body for combat, still training the body for conflict, but understanding that there's another way and that it can be practiced and mastered through breathing and through movement and, you know, through your actions just as much as a destructive aspected style could.
Right. Well, you know me, and I love to hear all these kind of things most because, well, I don't, maybe not many of you know, but Ethan Minor is a great fighter. He knows what is to feel pain and frustration and, you know, all that kind of things that you can get when you're fighting somebody. So everything he has to say, believe me, listen. And if he's talking about love, listen. Even if you feel that you're the toughest guy, because I know a lot of guys in the Muay Thai community, in the Sambo community, then they are like, oh, I'm the toughest, and then everybody's a pussy, I'm the fighter, and I'm the best. Well, Ethan Minor beat everybody, and now I'm being serious, man. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, you're the best. There are facts, you know. We can found out all this information, and the people that know you know what I'm talking about. So, and I love that you are doing this transition as young as you are right now, and not need the necessity of being 80 years old to realize that there is something that is not. So, congratulations for that.
Thanks, man.
There is something that I need to push a little farther about. Like, I don't know if you have heard about George Dillman. This guy that is a martial artist, and he used to be a security guard and all that, but now he's doing all these movements of touch, hitting you with no touch and all that, right? Have you seen it?
No, I try to avoid rabbit holes of no touch knockout.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's awesome. But he's a very known, famous martial artist since Bruce Lee and all that, and he's also he has a very good credentials. But now that he has been for a while doing these kind of seminars of how to beat somebody with no touch, all his respect has been going down. And seeing again the Ryabko videos and all that, I know that I really need to know. I understand that there's something more besides what we are looking at the screen, and there are some energies involved. However, I need to know: are you really able to beat somebody with no touch?
Okay, so let me make a couple things really clear. One, I definitely still hit people. Definitely. I spend a lot of time still working on how to hit people but in different ways. Okay. Gosh, well, I guess since I got this time, I'll just talk about this. So in Bando, right, it's a 9-weapon system. Bando's a 9-weapon system. Got 2 fists, 2 elbows, 2 knees, 2 feet, and a head. is an 8-limb system. Something that I've discovered in my Sistema training is that every single square millimeter of your body can be a weapon. Every single part of your body can be a weapon. And so when you learn how to strike with any part of your body, it really starts to change up the way that a fight looks. And there's a big aspect of creativity within Sistema. And I think this is actually a really important fact here. Each Sistema teacher or master or whatever is very, very, very different. And that's because Sistema brings out the person that you are deeper and deeper, like who you are inside, and develops that person. And because no two people are the same, no two Sistema teachers are the same, right?
Right.
Ryabko is on, you know, his own level. He's the original, you know, guy in this particular lineage. I have not had the chance to train with him yet. But I know that the shots that I have heard Martin talk about, they were not no touches. they were very, very deep touches. And I just think that it's important, like, to mention that at no point in the Sistema training that I've done have there been any like no touch strike knockout things. Like, I have not bumped into that at all. All the stuff that I've seen happen has been a result of very definable physics, a different approach to using those physics, because you got to remember, coming out of Russia, it's a whole different psychology behind the martial art. There are books and books of like the physics of how to use angle and pendulum swing and weight and like all these very concrete concepts to like maximize force and minimize range. Like, there's a very technical side of Sistema that isn't necessarily what Ryabko does a lot, but if you delve further into the Sistema videos, you'll find a few instructors that have like charts and diagrams and graphs of this very mathematical approach to Sistema. You know, Martin Wheeler uses a very quantum physics kind of approach to describe Sistema. Instead of talking about God or spirituality or anything, he doesn't really delve into that at all. You'll hear him talk about quantum physics and how quantum physics ties in to an interaction, to fear, to our own perception of time, our own perception of pain, and sort of mastering these invisible aspects of existence through that particular lens. So everybody has a different lens of kind of like their existence. I don't know what Ryabko's is because I haven't spent much time with him. I know with Vladimir, my experience with him is his lens is like, be a good person, you know? And when you're a good person, then you can train honestly. And when you can train honestly, you can just continue growing and growing and growing. So, you know, as far as the no-touch stuff goes, man, I don't really know nothing about that. You know, when next time I see you, I'll hit you and you can tell me if I touched you or not.
Okay. Okay, man. Well,
but really, shit, this is great. I get to talk about all this stuff that's always in my head, but I don't talk too much about. Really cool development that I've been experiencing is, okay, so I've been a massage therapist for my relationship, more than 15 years. My relationship with knowing a person's body, I've been practicing every day for hours a day for the last 15 years. So I recently had this wonderful epiphany where my massage sensitivity, where I can work, where I can look at somebody, I can look at them sitting, I can look at them standing, look at them walking, I can put my hand on them, feel where the tension is in their body. Now, as a massage therapist, I use that knowledge to then begin working on them, to release that tension, to adjust where the bone is sitting, to adjust where the cartilage is, right? To do these mechanical changes on the body to help heal them. But I can take that exact same information system, and I can, instead of doing these open hand rubbing maneuvers that I do like on my clients as a massage practitioner, I can turn those into strike points. And then if I deliver strikes to those points without that person really seeing it, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of trained motion that our minds are very quick to pick up. And if I do movement like that, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to flinch. It's just in there as a human being. You can learn how to move that don't fire off the danger sensors. They don't fire off the warning bells. And so if you can learn how to strike the points where they have tension based on their own history, their own injuries, their own psychological state, and be able to deliver strikes to those points without them knowing that they're being struck, the effect that that has on an opponent is, well, it's like magic.
Right. Okay.
And you can't see that. You can't see that in a video. There's no way. I could sit there probably in, like, if I had a physical model in there, I could probably talk sort of through the process. I could explain each step of the way, what's going on, what I'm looking for, what I'm feeling, how I want to direct the hit, how I'm going to deliver the hit, where in their breath pattern I want to deliver the hit, where in my breath pattern I want to deliver the hit. See, these are all these like really specific, finite things that are, it's almost impossible to try to think that, oh, you could never do that in a fight. But when you practice on developing that sort of assessment in almost a theta wave mind state, in a flow mind state, all of those equations get done automatically and quickly and almost instantly. And again, when you're in that state, you can use this approach to dealing with a attacker or multiple attackers, or not even attacker. I mean, shoot, in the security work that I do, what I want to do is hurt this person. So I can take all that same information, and instead of knowing how to break them down with it, I can know how to shut them down without hurting them. So that's another thing, right? Because in Bando, if I go Bando on somebody's ass as a security guard, that's lawsuits coming down the pipe, like for sure, right? And so if I can sort of change my perspective, and I'm not working with somebody as an opponent anymore, even though they think they're my opponent, I'm actually going to take care of them. And the way that I take care of them is based on what input that they're giving me through their attitude, through their stance, and how I heal them or how I fix them is really based on the outcome that I want to create. And if I want to hurt somebody, which is not ever the case, really, then that's an option. If I want to heal somebody, that's an option. If I want to kind of make them forget what they were trying to do, then that's an option too. And it's just nice to be able to have a scale. You got to go full tilt. You got to go full tilt. But I feel like that's a failing at some point. If you've gotten to that point, then somewhere earlier in the chain, you may have missed something where you could have avoided that. Because when it comes down to it, anybody you hurt, it doesn't really matter. You're ultimately hurting yourself. And anybody, I mean, now I'm not talking about in competition, okay? Maybe even in competition we could talk about it that way, but in competition it's a little bit different. I'm talking outside the ring. I'm talking in street fights, in relationships, in, arguments with random people. Nowadays, with all this crazy stuff going on in the street, if you go out there looking for a fight, you bet you're going to find one. So it's much easier to go out and look for violence and conflict than it is to go to a violently conflicted area and move through that area in peace. Now that is the art worth studying. And should it come down to, having to defend yourself, you have an entire spectrum of ability to do that. Everything, like I said, just moving on to turning on their life light.
Awesome. Well, yeah, actually, I have seen all of your videos on Instagram, and I love the videos where you were talking about charisma. You're the first person I have heard about, that talks about charisma the way you're doing it, and it is very interesting to me because everybody believes that you have it or not. It is not. Nobody thinks that it is something that you can use on
develop.
It's me?
People think it's not something you can develop.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, most people don't, including me, until I watch those videos. And you're also using that charisma in order to help people and to and do your job. So, does all of these theories and techniques came after Sistema or before Sistema?
Well, let me put it this way. They came after Bando.
Okay.
I wouldn't have been able to have the perspective that I have if I hadn't have been in 30 years of Bando. You know, those 30 years put me into a certain place, certain understanding. And then Sistema sort of picked up where I had left off with Bando and carried on into the whole next realms of possibility.
Right. Well, I understand that there is a lot of science behind Sistema, and also it is kind of funny because sometimes, as you said, it looks like magic and not much science. So that dichotomy is very strange to understand when you are outside the system. So you being a fighter and a martial artist that not only does Bando, you also did capoeira and did a lot of other martial arts. Actually, I remember that you were very proficient in many of those martial arts, and you could even fight the instructors with the system they wanted to fight you. So it was like, oh, what do you do? Okay, judo. Okay, let's do judo. What do you do? Kendo. Okay, bring the sword. Kendo. Okay. You know, and you were beating them with their own systems, and I was like, wow, what is going on with this guy? So now that you're doing Sistema, obviously is gonna be one of my goals, because as you and Martin Wheeler, there is another friend of mine. You know him, Mark Denny.
Absolutely, yeah. Mark's Guru Denny is always at Martin's place. When I go down there for his master classes in October, Guru Mark Denny is there almost every single time. We get to hang out and drink beers afterward. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. And him with another friend called John Deloitte, something like that. He's a fellow from South Africa, and he developed a knife system. And there is also some things that are very interesting to me. And one of my friends called Mauricio Sanchez, which is the Mark Denny representative here in Mexico, because it's the same thing. They are doing some things with the knife that seems kind of weird, but if Mark is doing that, and John Lloyd is doing that, there must be something behind that. So I'm really looking forward to visit Mark and train with that style, and visit you and train some of the Sistema once I start my traveling, you know?
Yeah, man, I'd love to have you come up and get some work in. I would be so stoked to share with you, you know, just some of what I've been doing and experience what you've been doing. So all of this, it's cool. This is great that I get to like kind of talk about this, because all of this sort of philosophy on martial arts that I've been spewing for the last 20 minutes or so, kind of formed it into basically a brand. Because it is information that I really want to get to more people. I feel like it's helpful in any time. It's particularly helpful in times of conflict. And it goes beyond just martial arts, how to punch, how to kick, how to step, how to breathe. It goes beyond all that and delves more into the, like, how does it all play together to be able to create positive outcomes for the people that we are engaged with in our personal lives, in our professional lives, in crossing on the street. You know, like how do we take this martial art theory and turn it into something that is medicine, or an antidote for a lot of the poisoning that we have in our world, culturally, racially, you know, sociologically. There's illnesses in our cultures all over the world. In the US, it's particularly bad. You can see, because we have this disease that you can flip on any news channel, and it's all over. And I'm not even talking about COVID. I'm talking about the other shit, right? And then there's COVID, right? You can add that on top of it. really, all of that screams for something to give guidance or some form of direction or some form of framework to navigate like these really challenging times and experiences. And that's why I created this thing called Dojo Body. And Dojo Body is the embodiment of that message, of that path to like find a way through these challenging times and develop your mind, develop your body, develop your skills, develop your confidence, your charisma, your physical fitness, all of these pieces, be able to really be the best human you can be in these challenging times. So this is my body stuff. There's the symbol right there.
Awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
Explain me more about it. What does it mean?
All right, so this is actually a lot of things at once. First and foremost, you know, I mean, the name is in the symbol. The top piece is the dojo, the bottom piece is the body, right? Okay. And then if we look a little bit further, though, you can also see, and you'll get this because of my history as a double da practitioner, right? There's the guy holding two big swords.
Right.
But also in there is this sort of idea of a home and protection for that person inside the home. You know, we all need like shelter and we all need a space to be and to be safe. And it's hard to find a safe place in these times, you know, so the ability to turn your own being into a safe place is essential. You know, you got to be able to carry that safety with you on your back. And that's kind of what this represents as well. This is the dojo body. And I've got a website that's going to be launching pretty soon, a YouTube channel that's going to be launching. We've been doing a bunch of content, getting a bunch built up so that when we drop it, we've got plenty for everybody to enjoy. Some of the seeing those videos on Facebook, that'll all be on there. And yeah, it's just going to be kind of a channel for the information that I've been given from these incredible masters, you know, through Dr. Mong Chi, through my father, through Vladimir Vasiliev, through Martin Wheeler, through Guru Denny, you know, all of these incredible teachers. I've been blessed enough and fortunate enough to have been around these individuals my whole life. And I know not everybody has that opportunity. So my motivation behind creating Dojo Body is to take this incredible amount of wisdom and skill and perspective that I've been given and to as many people as I can, because like I said, it's needed right now. The world is crying for it, and I just happen to have it. So I'm trying to figure out how to get it to as many people as possible.
This website is going to be different from the sistemalife.com?
Yeah, so Sistema Life, like I said, Dojo Body is kind of an umbrella. It's got a lot of different aspects. It's not just this one thing. Sistema Life is like one finger on the hand, you know, or one time on the umbrella. So I didn't get where I am just because of Sistema. You know, the information that I have didn't come strictly through that. The experiences didn't come through that. You know, but it's one very important aspect. And so the Sistema Life webpage addresses that. And then the webpage will kind of be the hub for the other. There'll be information about Bando. There'll be information about massage. There'll be information about nonviolent communication and conflict resolution, and self-healing. You know, all of these pieces that create a whole dojo body.
Right. Awesome. It's great. Sounds awesome. There is something that I really want to know. How does Bando help you in your development as Sistema instructor?
So in order to launch a spaceship into space, before you can even think about the ship, you have to design the launch pad, the foundation. And if that launch pad isn't built correctly, then the spaceship will never take off. Bando was my launch pad, and my spaceship.
Nice, very visual. Thank you for that. Okay, awesome. There is other question that I need to ask you. I have some friends from the ex-special forces from Russia, and they mostly does sambo, military sambo. As a matter of fact, the school where I teach is Spetsnaz Academia, from the Spetsnaz group. And some of them, I don't know why, they are like, oh, Sistema is funny, that's not true, they were not special forces, we are the real deal, and blah, blah, blah. Have you heard about it? Because some of them believe that Sistema is just made up, and because they are from Russia, I'm like, maybe that's true. But what can you tell me about it?
So I don't know anything about that particular piece. What I can speak to is that there is, in only my own experience, there's almost always a pattern in martial arts. Somebody who has, you know, recognition or a following of some sort will get the attention of somebody who doesn't really like it, and so they take it upon themselves to say, well, that shit's fake. They're not really they are. We're the real deal. It's not unique to Sistema. I mean, it happened in Bando. It's happened in it's happened in so many, in ninjutsu. Oh, for sure, right? Like so many arts, you have that tendency to like have a faction that points the finger at another faction and says, "There's not shit. We got the real shit over here." Is some of it true? Sure, probably so. Is all of it true? Probably not. Do I have the ability to discern what's true from that perspective? Only in as much as my experience gives me. And what I've experienced in my time with Vladimir and my time with Martin indicates that shit's as real as it gets. That's all I can say.
Okay, no, thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, because think about how controversial Dr. G is. You know.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I don't know if
websites devoted to defaming Dr. G and his whole thing, and it's like, you know, all I can say to that is it's like, and I say this about all conspiracy theories. This is where I go to with conspiracy theories. I'm like, look, that's it. Let's go with what you're saying. Dr. G is a complete fake. He was never in the military. Like, let's go with that as just a thought for a moment. Look at what he's done between 60 years ago and now. Take the claims out of it and see what's been done in those 60 years, and then if it's worthwhile.
It is so weird. Saya Finlolov said something very similar to that, because he's from Burmese descendant and his granddad was from Burma, and he didn't believe any of Dr. G's stories, but he then said that to me. He was like, well, you know what? He has done more for Burmese martial arts than any of us in the whole world. So I cannot even, I am just one guy doing the Kachin Burmese system, but he has a whole organization. He has people around the world. So I have to be humble and thank him.
Yeah.
So, well, he's a 57 years old fighter. He's still fighting at his age. He's a great guy. And I really love that, because I am in the middle of this war. There are always people trying to pull me to one side of the story with the people that are, no, Dr. G is fake, so come with us and not the other faction. Every single day there are people calling me from everywhere, because now I am trying to promote more and more Gateway and all the Burmese martial arts, and I am getting a little more attention. So, but my idea is to be neutral and just work. And
just work.
I won't do anything. And I love Dr. G.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to, I think. You know, just work on yourself. You know, if you're looking outside and you're pointing fingers at the things, a lot of times whatever you're pointing at you don't like, because you see some aspect of yourself in it. That's just human nature.
Are you still Rastafari, or were you done with that, or
No. I was never a Rastafarian. I had dreadlocks, but I wouldn't claim the Rastafarian religion. No. I cut my hair a long time ago. But no, as far as, you know, religious beliefs go, I leave that for the clergy.
Okay, okay. And also, I know that you're really humble and you don't like to talk about it, but can you tell us your fighting record, please? Please?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah. As far as amateur kickboxing fights, I fought 65 fights.
How much?
65.
Okay.
And I lost 2 of them.
2 of them. Okay, one of them was in France, right?
No, I won that fight in France.
Oh, really? With the what was his name? The picture where you are.
What? That's okay. So that's not in France. When I went to France and fought their guy there, I won that fight. I did lose a match against Jean-Marc Girard. That was not a kickboxing match or a lethwei match. That was a middle style match at Nationals, I think in Maryland. That was indeed one of the only losses that I ever took. So big shout out, good work, Jean-Marc Girard. You're a bad motherfucker.
Okay, nice. So tell us a little more information about those 2 fights because I didn't know about them.
Oh, okay. There's something weird with the audio. Is that on your side too? It's like really scratchy sometimes. Okay.
Yeah, the same thing. It just started just a few minutes ago, but still I can hear you. So I hope it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that fight isn't in the 2 fights that I lost because I was talking specifically about kickboxing matches, and that wasn't a kickboxing match. 65 kickboxing matches, 2 kickboxing losses. I remember both of my losses very clearly. One was to Jason Dent. And Jason Dent, gosh, I was probably like, oh, man, I couldn't have been more than 17 years old. I was 17 years old. That was my first loss. Jason Dent, martial arts school, great Muay Thai kickboxing guy, was just getting ready to open up another place and go on into teaching MMA. And he hit me with a sneaky shot that I still use to this day because it's so sneaky and it works well. He was in a regular stance, left foot forward, real sneaky foot change, like quick change, at the same time that he put his left hand out and put it in my face, and then take a full step because he switched his feet underneath, then take a full step with a right hand. So that's how a short guy can cover twice as much distance than the tall guy expected. He hit me with that shit 2 or 3 times. And I think he hit me with it, I don't remember, 2 or 3. And yeah, and he beat me. He beat me fair and square. It was a great technique. He used it. I couldn't figure it out. And I lost the fight. I was 17 years old. And then the other one that I lost, I was a little bit older. It was to Neil Rowe. And Neil Rowe was another guy that was about to crack into the whole MMA world. He was about to become a professional MMA fighter. I was, I was 18 years old. I was like 30 or something and had all these fights under his belt. They talked with him because they thought that he was just going to mop the floor with me because he was like, you know, a full-on professional fighter. And I was like this, you know, whatever fighter. And I beat his ass. It was a really good fight. But what happened was he pulled a slick move, and I think they called it the earthquake. And so he got me, and we were clinched up, and he did this like weird like shake thing to me, and it made me angry in the ring. And I stepped out and I threw a spinning elbow on the way out of the clinch. And I clipped him in, but it was a fight that elbows weren't allowed because at the time you weren't allowed to throw elbows in the ring style. So I got a point deducted from me, which being we had a draw fight, but since I had lost the point, I ended up losing the fight.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I would count that one, but okay. And what about the leadway or MMA or sparring with some interesting people? I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I trained with Eddie Bravo for a number, probably about 1.5 years in Hollywood when he had his school down in Hollywood. 11th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. Before it went to the really big place, it was like on a little, kind of a smaller spot. So I used to work with him for a number of years. Give it 1.5 years, until an injury ended pushing me out of there. great to work with. He always really respected Bando as a system. I felt he respected me as a practitioner, just coming in off the street. A really great experience. Of course, Guru Mark Denny, a lot of opportunities to work with him. Usually when I go with Dr. G to his school to help teach a seminar with Dr. G, I was kind of uke for Doc, and got a chance to work side by side with him and train under him and learn from him, which was amazing. Let's see, who else? I don't know. I mean, Martin Wheeler, I think, is a great guy. Vladimir Vasiliev, both of those Sistema instructors are pretty well known. Amazing guys to work with. I can tell you the one time I even thought about getting squirrely with Vladimir, he gave me a look that made me change my mind.
Okay.
Because he was doing this thing, and it was my first time there, and it was a few years back. So I'm pretty I'm like, oh, I'll see what happens if I just put a little pressure. And he felt me think that shit, and looked over at me from kind of like over his shoulder, like, you want to try it? And I was like, maybe. And then and then later on in that same training, it was like, because a lot of the training is pretty agreed. Like, you're working with each other. You're not working against each other, right? So that's where people they say it's kind of like Aikido and it's fake and people are taking falls. I'll tell you what, after you get hit once or twice, you start diving so that it hurts a little less because you know what's coming, okay? And so I gave Vladimir just a little bit of pressure back. And he did something that twisted my arm around my own arm and really snapped my arm over my own arm this way. And because we had like hands like this, and I kind of I laid in a little bit, and he was like, "Yep," and I felt my arm go, and it hit me and goes, "Don't do that." And I said, oh, okay, cool. I get it. So that was a pretty fun experience. And of course, the time that Martin Wheeler punched me, that changed everything. I saw a little image of my own mortality sort of brightly burned into my vision. Like, my own life force became visible and flickered for a second, which was a kind of a really inspiring experience. So that was cool. And then of course, I can't talk about people that I've worked with without mentioning Grandmaster Dr. Wangji, right? He's where it all came from, and all the experiences that I've had training under him have just prepared me to be able to go really anywhere and train with anybody and not feel like I'm lacking somehow.
Right. Okay, nice. Did you ever had a chance to do Burmese boxing, like with the headbutts and all that? No gloves?
Straight Letway boxing, knees, elbows, and headbutts? No, unfortunately didn't. Most of the time that, I was training in Bando, Burma was a closed country. There was no tourism there. You couldn't go in, you couldn't go out, and nobody was doing Letway. Nobody even knew what Letway was except for us. Like, you go to somebody to talk about Letway, they're like, "What are you like? What's is that a sandwich?" And as things started to open up in Burma, more opportunities started popping up to go and go over there and fight. And unfortunately, because of some of the more political things that existed, I wasn't able to take advantage of some of the trips that were made by different groups to go into Burma and get into that aspect. So, everything that I did was stateside, with the exception of my fights in Mexico, my France. I think I went up to Canada once, and but everything else was in the States. And at that point, there were no rules that allowed for headbutting. So I have not.
Okay, yeah, well, as you know, I am promoting this system in Mexico and America, and I'm organizing my Mexican national team, and I'm very excited. So if you are able to come to Mexico anytime, I would love to. Well, obviously, you know that this is your house and you can just come here and take tacos, but if there is an opportunity to learn from you, that would be awesome.
Nice. Yeah, man. Well, I look forward to being able to share anything that I have with you and your team. I'd love to come down. I don't know when I'll be able to, just based on what's going on with travel and everything like that. But spirit is certainly willing. My body is fully capable. So, you know, when the time lines up, I'd love to do it.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. And well, just to finish with the conversation now, I would like you to tell us what's next for you. Where can people find you? If you have a seminar coming, you know,
Yeah.
everything you.
Yeah, absolutely. So immediately coming up, I've got Martin Wheeler coming to teach a seminar here on my ranch, August 14, 15, and 16. That's going to be a 3-day camp out in the redwoods. We're going to be training hard, and that's going to be fun. I'm hosting that, and Martin Wheeler's going to be doing most of the teaching. And then I'm also, like I said, I've got Stemma Life active. I'm launching Dojo Body. Dojo Body is going to have links to all different aspects of the things that I've gathered in my journey to be able to share it with whoever is interested. There's going to be, you know, gear, clothing, apparel, that sort of thing, training gear, training philosophies, videos. We'll be going over, oh yeah, we got our neckies, right? We got for the face mask work. We always got his hair, we got the thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, really that's what's next, man. Building this Dojo Body reality, sharing these gifts that I've been given with as many people as I can to try to help alleviate some of the suffering on this beautiful planet that we all live on. The YouTube channel, the page, once it's all up. Oh, obviously Instagram, that'll be on there too. Now System of Life is the one that's active, and like I said, in the coming weeks we're going to get Dojo Body launched and up and going. So that's where you can find everything about what I do and what I can share.
Okay. Thank you. Well, you have a lot of things to share. You know, a lot of yogas and massages and philosophies and theories. So, wow, I would get crazy with all that information, but I'm sure you
Hey, thanks so much. Hey, man, I really appreciate this opportunity. It feels great to be able to sit with a good friend and spit some martial arts on a level that I don't usually get to talk about it on with people. So you have my gratitude for sure, brother.
Well, man, this is your house. I mean, my YouTube channel is for you. Whenever you want to talk about something, you want to promote anything, just please just call me, and I would love to help you in any endeavor you have.
Sweet. I'll keep that in mind, and likewise, man. Let's stay in touch.
Okay, thank you so much, and have a great night. Thank you for everything.
All right, brother. We'll see you.